NFL Week 8 Power Rankings. That's right. So we're about halfway through the season. I guess we're technically not there until the end of the week. But here's the deal. A lot of these teams have played each other. So we have people that have beaten somebody above them in the rankings, below them in the rankings. And that's just what you're going to get, because when you get so many moving pieces and so many moving parts, some of the teams just all play each other. So as I always do, I like to start with my screen of respect. I call this the 2 and the 3 loss screen because, look, I like all these teams. I just couldn't fit them in, and I'll tell you why. First, I have the Indianapolis Colts. They were on a bye week, more of a victim of the bye week, I think. But my concern is still the same as before the bye week. I want to see the offense play a little bit better. I will say this, Phillip Rivers has looked a lot better, and they're going to get some key pieces back on defense. So I think the Indianapolis Colts will be a playoff team. I just don't have them in the top 10 yet. I want to see them earn it in with their offense. The New Orleans Saints, I think, they'd probably be my 11th ranked team at this point. They're 4-2. We haven't seen Michael Thomas since like the first week of the season. They're going to be better and better. The last game they played, I thought they were very dominant against the run game, which I constantly always see with the New Orleans Saints. They're very good against the run. They force teams to be two-dimensional. The team is improving. They just need to get a little bit healthier. I'm sure, if you're a Saints fan, comment below. Tell me why they should be on the list, and more importantly, tell me who should be off the list. But, you definitely have an argument. Cleveland Browns, you have an argument as well. Look, my big concern here is Odell Beckham Jr. He gets injured. Certainly the Browns come back. Baker Mayfield goes nuts, throws for 5 touchdowns, 3 of them to tight ends. So I know this team is going to be able to move the ball, but can they move it consistently? They're still going to have to deal with Pittsburgh and Baltimore again in their schedules. Can they do it against their division? Because I think they're going to need to split those games to outcompete some of these other teams for playoff spots. But we'll see. Having a 7th seed this year completely helps. San Francisco 49ers at 4-3. Look, the 49ers, they started with some injuries. The defense, I think, went through an adjustment period as any team, losing Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas in the same week. Come on. On top of that, they've had Deebo Samuel only for like 1 or 2 games this year. He got hamstring pull. Raheem Mostert on the IR. You got Jeff Wilson now on the IR. But the San Francisco 49ers keep winning. They had injuries last year in 2019, and they made the Super Bowl once their team got healthy. This team will get better. They are getting better. They have a lot of character, and their schedule gets a lot easier moving forward. They got some really ugly stuff out of the way for them. Meanwhile, a team like the Rams, they've gotten a lot of the easy schedule behind them, and their schedule gets a lot tougher. I think that you could say the same thing about the Cardinals and the Seahawks within their own division. Huge matchup this week. If San Francisco wins, they will be in the top 10. Lastly, the Chicago Bears, who I put at number 10 last week. The offense has got to get better. I'm a big believer in this defense. I think their defense is elite. But look, you got to be able to score points in the NFL. There are offenses that will be able to put up points against this Bears defense. The Bears offense needs to keep up, and I haven't seen any evidence that they can do that. So there's my screen of respect. Unfortunately, they didn't make the top 10 this week, but who did make the top 10? I'm going to start from 10 and then work my way to 1. Number 10 on my list this week is the Buffalo Bills. I was very, very close to putting them off the list and putting the Saints on. The only reason I kept the Bills on the list is because they have shown an ability basically to score a ton of points whenever they want to, and their defense has capacity, I think, to be a better defense than the New Orleans Saints defense. That was the team I was flirting with putting in at number 10. Look here, Buffalo, every statistical and analytical category, the Bills defense is average, middle of the road in the NFL. It has to get better. It should get better, but it has to get better. This is a big matchup this week against the Patriots. This is a game that the Bills should win, and I think they should win it easily. And if they don't, I'm probably going to move them off this list into the screen of respect and put a team like the New Orleans Saints up there or somebody else. The Bills haven't been playing well, in my opinion, the last 3 weeks. Obviously, you lose to 2 incredible teams in the Titans and the Chiefs. I don't care too much about that. What concerned me more than anything was the win over the Jets. It was not convincing at all. I wanted to see the Bills win that game by 20 points. They couldn't even get the ball into the end zone. 8 field goal attempts, and they converted 6 of them. I think the Bills have to do better than that. We're talking about the top of the top, and there are a lot. Look at this list. When we get through it, the Bills are at number 10, and they're 5-2. This is a very top-heavy NFL season this year, so it's a lot at the top, and the Bills have to, their defense has to play how they're capable of playing. Number 9 on this list, they actually, the Buffalo Bills actually beat this team, so this is the first, Bills fans, hey, what are you doing? We beat this team. The Los Angeles Rams at 5-2. The defense is playing well, and the offense plays well. I've seen very good games from the Rams on both sides of the ball. Now, I guess the counter argument to that is 4 out of their 5 wins are against the NFC East, and one of the wins, the other one, the 5th win, was this past weekend against the Bears team that just can't score the ball. So, like I said, the Rams' schedule is going to get more difficult to close the year, but as Bill Parcells would say, you are what your record says you are. I'm more convinced that the Los Angeles Rams are playing better football right now than the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills were playing elite football. I think it was week 3, week 4 when they beat the Rams. I think the Rams are playing better now, so I'm going to move them up in the rankings. Bills fans, Rams fans, why don't you comment below? Tell me what you think about that game and that matchup, because that was a heck of a game those two teams played earlier this season. Number 8 on my list, the Arizona Cardinals, coming off their victory over the Seattle Seahawks. They go into a bye week second in the very tough NFC West. Yes, their second place. Seattle now has a game against the San Francisco 49ers, and the 49ers are playing very good football. If the 49ers win that game, then Arizona on tiebreakers moves into first place with a 5-2 record, even on a bye. So that's pretty cool. It's fun to see. It's fun to see their offense doing what they do. But don't sleep on this defense. Vance Joseph has them playing incredible football. They had a great comeback against Seattle. Now, do you see Russell Wilson throw a crucial interception in overtime often? No, but the Cardinals made it happen. Congratulations to the Cardinals. It took them 2 field goal attempts to get that victory, but they got it nonetheless. Number 7 on this list is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 5-2. Now, the Buccaneers, talk about teams that can play and win games ugly. They can win a 9-6 game if they have to with that defense, and they can win a shootout, a 45-38 type game with their offense. They are really, really good. They've been getting better. Now, they dropped a game to the Saints the first week of the season when Tom Brady and the wide receivers, they couldn't get on the same page that week. They lost a tough game to Chicago. That was the game where Tom Brady, thought it was 3rd down when it was actually 4th down. Those are the 2 losses. Those are 2 pretty good losses, in my opinion. And then they've come out in the last couple of weeks, and they've destroyed the Raiders and the Green Bay Packers. And the Green Bay Packers, by the way, are ahead of them on this list. Buccaneers fans are going to take issue with that. Comment below. Tell me why they should be, outside of just that one game. And I'll explain why I have the Packers ahead of them in just a second. But back to the Buccaneers. Look, there's only a handful of teams right now whose defense and offense looks dominant at times. And the last couple of weeks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been putting both together at the same time, and they've just been blowing the doors off of teams. So Tampa Bay, they were on the screen of respect last week. This week, I moved them and elevate them to number 7. Really, I think you can make a really strong argument to put them at number 6 or even higher. But for right now, I have them at 7. Number 6 is the Green Bay Packers, one of the teams that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers blew out. And the reason I'm putting the Packers up there is a couple things. One, Tampa Bay Buccaneers were coming off that bad loss to the Chicago Bears, okay? And they were uniquely pissed off in that game. Meanwhile, the Green Bay Packers, everything had broken right for the Green Bay Packers at that point in the season. They come out. They try to run the ball. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers stopped the run as usual, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were crashing up. Finally, some defense does it. They crash up on Davante Adams. They force a couple of interceptions from Aaron Rodgers. One is a pick six. One they take down to the 2 or 3 yard line, score, and a couple plays later, I believe. That doesn't happen a lot. You take those 2 interceptions away from Aaron Rodgers, which I'm telling you, over the last 10 to 20 years or 10 to 15 years, he just doesn't do that often. And Tom Brady, by the way, doesn't forget what down it is often either, right? So I'm not freaking out about either one of those. That game, without those 2 critical interceptions, is a much closer game. And then, because Tampa Bay was blowing the doors off of Green Bay early, they had to kind of move away from Aaron Jones in the run game. I don't think that Aaron Jones is going to get to like 4 or maybe even 3 yards per carry, but even just having the ability to be 2-dimensional instead of 1-dimensional would have made a difference. So, long story short, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you proved it on the field. I get it. If I was a Buccaneers fan, I'd be like, hey, come on, man, you're an idiot because we just blew the doors off them 2 weeks in a row. I'm just going to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had it going, and they were uniquely motivated in that game. And the Green Bay Packers, they just couldn't adjust. But I think if they played again this week, that would be a different game, and they'd be pretty even there. And in all the other games this year, the Green Bay Packers have looked great. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I just think the quality of performance throughout the season has been higher, even though the Green Bay Packers had the loss. So I don't do this often. So even as I'm talking right now, I'm kind of convincing myself to rank the Buccaneers ahead of the Packers. But just let me have it. Everybody, just comment below. Tell me what you think. Tennessee Titans, 5-1 are my number 5 team. They lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They come back. What I really loved, I was more encouraged in this loss than I've been even in some of the victories for the Tennessee Titans. Their defense finally showed up in the second half. I've been waiting for this defense to show up. They finally put it together. Now, a couple weeks ago, Pittsburgh's defense was kind of reeling. They weren't playing great. They came up against the Cleveland Browns, and they absolutely shut the Cleveland Browns down. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Tennessee Titans, and they absolutely blow the doors off the Titans, and at least in the first half of that football game. The Tennessee Titans, finally, they give us a half. So I think what's going to happen this week, they play the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are an underrated offense. I know their record isn't great, but their offense is quite doing quite well. I believe the Tennessee Titans defense has finally showed up, so I think they're actually going to move back up this list, but I still have them as a top 5 team. I like them quite a bit. Number 4, the Seattle Seahawks, coming off that loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Look, Russell Wilson, if he doesn't throw that pick, they're 6-0, and they're probably number 1 on my power rankings. The big question for Seattle is, when is this defense going to get better? I just mentioned the Tennessee Titans finally showed up defensively. I believe Diggs is still injured in the secondary there. I'm waiting for him to be back. I don't really feel like that whole team has been healthy, and that whole defensive unit has been healthy since maybe week 1. I think the Seattle Seahawks defense will get better, but the offense is out of this world. Russell Wilson is my NFL MVP to this point in the season. They're my number 4 team. Number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. I moved them ahead of the Seattle Seahawks this week because, look, their defense is the number 1 defense in the league in terms of scoring, points allowed. Their offense is top 10. I think they're number 8 or 9 or something like that, maybe even number 6. I don't know, but they are top 10 in their offense in terms of points scored. The big question for Baltimore is always, can you play from behind? I know that if they take a lead, they're probably the hardest team to beat in football, but if they fall behind by 2 scores, they're in some jeopardy. Can they come back and close that gap? Over the last 2 seasons, Lamar Jackson, maybe even 2.5. Well, let's say 2, right? Because we're halfway through this season. He played a half season 2 years ago. Over the 2 seasons, I haven't really seen Lamar Jackson come back and, from behind. Like, if you're down by 20 points in the first half, are you coming back? Are you slinging the ball downfield? I don't know. The Dez Bryant signing, to me, probably isn't going to be impactful, but I think it was a great move to at least try because they need something. This Baltimore Ravens team needs something, and I'm thinking specifically it's 15 yards down the field and beyond. I also would like to see more Devin Duvernay on the opposite side of Marquise Brown, so you got speed on both sides of the ball, both sides of the field, I should say. That pushes things vertically. That opens more stuff up for Boyle and Andrews, and of course, it opens stuff up in the run game. Huge test this week, though. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers. Winner of that game might be number 1 on my list next week. With respect to number 2 on my list right now, the Kansas City Chiefs, who I'm not sure if they head into it. No, they play the Jets. So it's safe to say the Chiefs are going to be 7-1 after this week. Kansas City Chiefs, their loss to the Raiders was kind of a surprise to everybody. But here's the deal: is the Kansas City Chiefs, when they're motivated, they're hard to beat. I think they've sleptwalked through most of this season, and they're 6-1. They play their best games against the best opponents. They really didn't give the Buffalo Bills or the was it the Tennessee Titans? No, it was the Baltimore Ravens. They didn't give those 2 very good teams much of a chance to win. And I think when the playoffs start, they're going to be a tough team to beat. But the number 1 team on my list, the Pittsburgh Steelers, could do it because I think the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is better than the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Even though the Kansas City Chiefs defense, I think, gets overlooked because of how good the offense is. The Chiefs defense, when they're playing at their best, I don't think they're as good as the Pittsburgh Steelers defense when they're playing at their best. Offenses, now I think the Kansas City Chiefs offense is certainly better than the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I don't think it's that wide of a gap. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a high capacity to score points, and they can force a lot more turnovers on defense than usual. I really think that these are the 2 best teams maybe in the league. Well, I have them ranked as numbers 1 and 2 in my power rankings, so I do think they're the best 2 teams in the league. I think this is our AFC championship game matchup, depending on how the playoff seeding works out and all that. I think they're the best 2 teams. I think we're going to get them. But hey, Baltimore and Pittsburgh play each other this week. If Baltimore handles Pittsburgh, then you have an argument on your hands. So I love the top 3 in the AFC. The NFC West is the creme de la creme in terms of top to bottom in the division. All these teams, to me, are in the top 12 of the NFL. So it's going to be an interesting finish. A lot of really good teams in the NFL. So there you go. There's the power rankings. Tell me, like, comment, subscribe. Comment below. Tell me who you think should be in, who I should pull off the list. Give me your top 5 as well. Who do you think your top 5 teams are? I'd love to see it. I'd love to read it. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you again soon. Thank you.